And this is what the roses look like once you put them inside of a vase. And here are the two different styles. So here's the one video with the thicker craft wire stem in the different colors. And then right behind it, I have my other one with a different style, and you could see the craft wire on that. So whatever preference, you can make your beautiful roses in the style that you want. So these are the different roses that you can make, and this is my pen rose, which is a different style of rose that you could make. I'm just going to show you how to make a different stem. This one is my classic vintage rose that you could make, and then this is the stem that I show how to make with that one, but I'm going to show you how to make a more realistic stem. And here is the stem that I'm going to show you how to make if you like this style better. The leaves you can learn how to make with the real video for the classic vintage rose. With this one, I'm just going to show you how to make the stem and this part of the rose. But the leaf and the actual rose, you can go to the other video tutorial for that. Here is another, this is the easy beginner rose that I have. And you could see that this is the style stem that I show how to make with that one, but it actually can move around. You can hold it up with the craft wire, but this style you can move. So I'm going to show you how to make this style instead, if you like it to have more of a realistic look to it. So you would make the rose the same way and the leaf the same way. The only difference is the under portion of the rose and the stem. You can choose whatever vase that you want to use for your project. I have these are just two of my vases that I have. For this project, I'm going to show you with my craft wire. This is what I have left after making the bunny rabbits. So if you like craft wire, there's other projects that I have, like the bunny rabbits, where you can use it. And also the Easter baskets, I show how to use this craft wire. And again, this is a 20 gauge. And sometimes I use the hardware wire too, which is a little bit thicker. So whatever craft wire that you want to use, but for this project I'm using the 20 gauge. For this project you're going to need your F or 4mm crochet hook. You're also going to need your scissors and a tapestry needle. You're also going to need the rose of your choice. I'm just going to show you with this rose that I made, but I have 3 different styles on my YouTube channel that you could pick for the type of rose that you want. The first thing you're going to do is just get the amount of craft wire that you want for your project. So as long as the length that you want for your flower is the amount that you're going to get from your craft wire. And what I like about this is you can just cut it with your scissors, and they have a little gap here for the craft wire that you can just place it in there so it doesn't come undone. And then once you have your craft wire, then you're going to take the end of it and you're going to feed it into the inside spoke of your flower. So you're just going to take and weave it in, loop it through until the ends are even. So you grab the other end, and be careful because it's springy, so you don't want it to spring and hit you. But just make sure it doesn't twist up on itself. And then just make sure that it's even on the end. And then once you have the two ends, then you're going to overlap the two ends and then just twist it on each other like this. And you're going to do that for both sides. Until it's completely wrapped around. And then you're going to take and move the part that you twisted to under the rose. So you're going to move it to where it goes on the rose side of it, because we're going to bury this. So then you just twist it like this. And then you have your work. You have the end of the craft wire loop at the bottom, and then you have the part that you wrapped around at the top portion. Now I'm going to show you how to make the green portion that goes and covers part of this wire and the flower. You can pick the yarn, the green yarn that you want to use for your stem of your flower. I'm using Caron's Simply Soft, and the color that I'm using is dark sage. It has this really pretty green color. The first thing that you're going to do is make the magic circle. So you just take your yarn, drape it across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, then wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. Then you take your crochet hook, you're going to go under those 2 loops, you're going to bring up a loop, you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through that loop for a slip knot. Then you're going to make 12 single crochet into the magic circle. So 12 single crochet. So that's 1. That's 2. So I have 8 so far. Once you have the 12 single crochet in the magic circle, just take your forefinger and thumb, hold it at the base, and then you have these 2 loops on the opposite side. You're going to pull on one of them. If it doesn't close, then you let go and pull on the other one, but this one's closing. And then you just take the loose yarn end and pull on that. You want to have this large opening in the center of your magic circle, so don't close that up. So now you just take a yarn marker and place it right where you left off. And we're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch around for 3 rounds. So go ahead, finish making 1 single crochet into every stitch around until you've completed 3 rounds. And then come back. So you can see how I finished 3 rounds, 1, 2, 3. of the 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then you can make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. Just yarn over and then pull the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn actually we're not going to finish off. We're going to make the little leaf petals that go right up next to the flower. And to do that, you're going to make a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have a chain of 6. Then I'm going to go into the next stitch over. So in the next stitch over, I'm going to make a slip stitch. Just yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. And then a slip stitch into the next stitch over. Then you're going to chain 6 again. And then you're going to make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Then you're going to chain 6. Then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch over. And you're just going to do that all the way around. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Chain 6. Then slip stitch into the next stitch. And then I'm going to make one more. I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Chain 6. And then slip stitch into the next stitch. Then I'm going to go ahead and finish off and just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew it onto your flower. Now you're going to take your flower and you're going to take the end and put it right through the bottom portion that you made for your flower, and you could tuck in your loose yarn ends. Leave your long end that you left for sewing on the outside, and then just take and move the wire up, and you can cut any loose yarn ends that are hanging out of the bottom, or you can trim them later, or bury them as you wrap your work. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in when I wrap it later, so I'm just going to leave those. Then you're going to position the backing onto the back of your flower, and you're going to take the long end that you left for sewing and put your tapestry needle on, and when you sew, you're going to want to sew along the inside, right here, which is the top of the cup. When you go on the inside, you want to just sew around the inside of the rose. So you're just going to take and sew this outer petal in place, or the green portion for the back of the flower in place, just going around and sewing that onto the back of your flower. You want to go all the way around, making sure that you don't mess up the loops that you created, the green loops. Those are the under leaves for the flower. Just make sure that you sew it in place and then come back. Now you can see how beautiful the back side of the flower looks. And then we'll cover the inside with the little piece that we make for the inside of the rose, as I show when you make the rose itself. Then you're going to take, and we're going to start wrapping from the bottom with our green yarn. So you just take your green yarn, and you're going to start where your loose yarn end is, and then just tie a knot, because you don't want the loose yarn ends to hang out. So just tie a good knot. And then you're just going to take and you're just going to wrap tightly. Until it's completely covered. Just wrap it around tightly all the way down and up with your green yarn. You can see how nicely and how tightly that I'm winding it around until you've completely covered the entire craft wire, and then come back. Now for my rose, you can see how I went all the way to the top and down all the way, completely covering the craft wire, making it look really real, and it doesn't move except how you bend it, which is really nice. And then you just take the end with your tapestry needle, end at the bottom, and then the little loop that you have at the bottom, you can take your tapestry needle and just go right through and cover it and tie a knot. You want to tie a really good knot so that your green yarn doesn't come undone. You can just go a couple of times. I just go in and out until I have a really good knot at the bottom. And I'm even completely covering that little loop at the bottom with my yarn as I'm tying knots. And then once you're finished with your last knot, then you can take and then just kind of weave the loose yarn end through anywhere at the bottom, and then just cut it. And then you have your beautiful rose. Then you just take the centerpiece to cover the top part of the rose, and I'm going to go ahead and just show you. I show how to do it in the rose video, but I'm going to go ahead and show you with this video tutorial. So I'm going to start with the same colored yarn, and I'm going to make a slip knot. So I'm just going to fold the yarn over on itself, and then just hold the base with our middle finger and thumb, and just yarn over and bring the yarn through that loop for a slip knot. Then I'm going to make a chain for whatever length I want to use for the inside of the rose. So I'm going to start with a chain of 10. Then I'm going to make a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Then I'm going to make a half double crochet into the next stitch. Then I'm going to make a double crochet into the next stitch. And I'm going to make a double crochet into every stitch until the last 2 stitches. So for mine, I have 3 stitches. I'm going to make one more double crochet. Then I'm going to make a half double crochet. Then I'm going to make a single crochet into that last stitch. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into that last stitch, and then I'm going to turn my work. I'm going behind that loose yarn end to bury it. And then I'm going to start working on the opposite side. So we just worked along here, and now I'm going to work on the opposite side. So I'm going to make a single crochet into the next stitch, then a half double crochet into the next stitch. Then I'm going to make a double crochet all the way down until the last 2 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and cut my loose yarn end. And then I'm going to make one more double crochet. Then I'm going to make a half double crochet. And then I'm going to make a single crochet. So kind of like your leaf that you make. Then I'm going to slip stitch into my first stitch. And then I'm going to finish off. I'm going to make sure I bring enough yarn through to sew this onto the center of my rose. Then you just take the piece that you made and just take and cover the center. And you can position the center of the rose however you want. Just go through. I'm going to sew mine in half like this, but still have the little points on the end. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm completely covering the wires and everything, and make sure that you don't sew through the bottom green portion. You don't want that to show through. So you're going to go in and out, making sure not to mess up the bottom of your rose. And you're just going to sew the center portion in place and then come back. And this is how the rose will look when you're done. You can see the beautiful back and then the beautiful stem that you created. And then you could put your leaves on, just like as shown in the particular rose video that you choose to make your rose. And then it looks real. And here's another one that I made with a leaf on it. And here is one with the classic vintage rose that I made in the back of this one. And then with the leaves in place. And it just makes a beautiful look as well, just a different look.